Hey, this is Glover Teixeira, UFC light heavyweight champion.
Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, fight family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Alenik, and welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want One Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
Hi, everybody from American Top Picks.
Next up, at UFC 270, we have the third fight between these two. We have Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Brandon Moreno, 19-5 overall, 4-0-1. The one is a draw against Figueiredo. 4-0-1 coming off of the dominant win over his opponent here. Deiveson Figueiredo is 20-2 in his career, 3-1-1 in his last five. Obviously coming off of the other side of that Moreno fight, and the one is the draw as well. This is the third and likely final fight between these two. We saw a majority draw with one judge giving the first fight to Figueiredo, the other two calling it a draw, and then the last time they just fought.
And that was just because of point deduction. Figueiredo won that fight, but there was a point deduction because of what, a nut shot or whatever.
It was yeah, correct. So the first fight, Figueiredo won. It was technically a majority draw because two judges called it a draw. One judge gave it to Figueiredo, and the other two had to take all of them had to take a point off of the scorecards. And their last fight, Brandon Moreno beat the crap out of Deiveson Figueiredo, beat the absolute crap out of him. And we'll break down those fights in a little more detail in a minute. Brandon Moreno is great. First of all, personality-wise, you could not, there's nothing you could need from him. He's happy. He's funny. He's always smiling. You could tell he appreciates everything he has and where he is. But skill-wise, he's very tough. He's got a great chin, and he puts on a very, very good pace. In their first fight, he won the wrestling exchanges and the scrambles. He doesn't have the same power that Figueiredo does, but he makes up for it with volume and looks to overwhelm. He needs to push the pace. He needs to try to exhaust a somewhat easily exhaustible Deiveson Figueiredo. But Brandon Moreno, very well-rounded. Specifically in this matchup, he doesn't have the same power, but he does have a better pace. He doesn't have the same jiu-jitsu, but he does have better wrestling. Deiveson Figueiredo, also a very well-rounded guy, as you would expect from a former champion. He's dangerous everywhere. He's very good at baiting you into thinking that you're inside the pocket, and then he plays that line really well, so you think you're in range when he isn't, and then he comes in with his big shots. His BJJ is fantastic. He's incredible off his back, and not to mention he has legitimate power in his hands. The issue, however, is it affects his cardio. He has all that power. He's very muscled for this weight class, but he's got cardio issues. Manel Kape, another fighter in this division, he did an interview with MMA Junkie this week where he mentioned that Figueiredo had big weight cutting issues in the last fight and that he was literally in the hospital leading up to it. His breakdown, this is Manel Kape's breakdown of this fight, was that Figgy's power is dangerous and Moreno feels that power in the fights, but that if it goes into the third round or past the third round, Moreno takes over, his pace, his cardio, and he wins the fight. I mostly agree with that insight, but before I give a pick, let's take a look at the stats here from their last two fights. The very first fight was at UFC 256, and Brandon Moreno landed 132 strikes to Deiveson Figueiredo's 137. Brandon Moreno had 4 takedowns for Figueiredo's 2, and Brandon Moreno had much more control time. Stats don't tell the whole story, though, because as Jacob mentioned, this was their first fight, and pretty much Figueiredo won that fight. You had to take a point away for a penalty, which is how it ended up in a draw.
And I'm looking at the scorecards now. It was basically Figueiredo won the first 3 rounds, and then the judges made the third round a draw, basically, between the two of them. And then one judge had it, or 2 judges had Figgy winning the 5th round as well.
Their second fight was at UFC 263. This was a one-sided beating for Moreno. Moreno had 47 strikes to 24. He ended by stoppage. 47 strikes to 24, 2 takedowns to 1, and almost 5 minutes of control time to a minute and a half. So, history does tell you something. This is a very close fight. It's a very interesting fight. I have to, man, Figgy has the power. He did have his own grappling successes in the first 2 fights. You see he's gotten takedowns in all of them. In the last fight, he actually amassed a little bit of control time compared to the first fight. But grappling is exhausting. It's exhausting, and Figueiredo already has cardio issues. I have to go with Moreno here to make it an absolute dogfight, to avoid the power and just work his way to a win. But this will not be the one-sided beating that it was last time. I think that was just lightning in a bottle. Figueiredo had a terrible weight cut, wasn't feeling himself, and that fight was just not his night, and that happens. I think this is much closer to the first fight. Very good back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if Figueiredo had a grapple-heavy game plan, but I do think this is razor-thin, good fight. I'm going with Moreno because I got to go with cardio. I got to go with cardio over just raw power. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is a tough one, and I like you said, there's nothing against Brandon Moreno. He's an incredible person, one of the greatest people I've ever seen in interviews or whatever, and just a super down to earth guy. He just goes on the weekends and just builds Legos, and then on Saturday nights he just beats the shit out of people. So that's always fun. It's kind of like my life too. But Figgy, you mentioned the cardio issues. I don't know if he really has cardio issues, especially in that first fight. And he's a guy that really kind of is like an excuse maker, because one after the first fight, didn't he say he was like sick in that fight? And then the second fight, he's like, oh, I had weight cut issues in that fight. Even though he won the first fight, 2 of the judges gave him the 5th round in the first fight. So if you have cardio issues, you're not going to win a round. And 2 judges thought he won that 5th round. I think he's one of those guys that just kind of has peaks and valleys. You see that with Connor too, right? Where they kind of blow their load and they look exhausted, but then they kind of come back a little bit and you'll have a good round like Connor against Khabib won that 3rd round where you thought he was like down and out after getting dropped in the second. They come back. It's so I don't know if I would say the cardio is a huge issue. Obviously, if there's a lot of grappling involved in this one and it gets the 4th or 5th round, they've been rolling around. I'd give it to Moreno because he's got that wrestling edge. To me, it always feels like Figgy just has more ways to win, right? He's got the power. He's got the jiu-jitsu, and I think with the wrestling, he's slick enough in those scrambles, and he's powerful enough to kind of explode out of those positions. I think that I don't know if he didn't respect Moreno's wrestling in that second fight, but I think he just assumed he was going to be able to scramble and explode out of everything that Moreno was going to present to him. And then when Moreno got his back and got those hooks in, it was like, oh man, like I underestimated this guy. Because you saw it a couple times where Moreno got on top, he just kind of exploded out of it, and Moreno there, Figgy's kind of rolling around. This time, I agree. I think he comes in. I think he does more offensive grappling. I think he respects the grappling and wrestling of Moreno a little bit more. And this is going to come down to, can Moreno's chin continue to hold up? Because he eats shots, man. Figgy he throws hard, and he lands solid when he lands. And up to this point, Moreno's just eats them fine. He's not slipping them. He's not moving. He rolls with them a little bit because he is a good boxer, but he's eating shots. And if his chin holds up again, he's definitely going to win. But at some point, man, it just feels like Figgy's going to land that shot that he lands all the time, and he's going to capitalize on it. So I'm going to be rooting for Moreno. I like Moreno. I think Figgy's going to get it done. I think he's going to get the belt back. I think it's going to be new. I think Figgy's going to get it done.
Yeah, and listen, I picked Moreno literally because of the pace that he sets. But this is the type of fight where, the weigh-ins will tell me a lot, because Figueiredo just looked off. Like in the weigh-ins and the leading up, that whole week, he just seemed off. Didn't seem like he wanted it. Didn't seem like he went from nice guy to like fake not nice guy. Like it made no sense. So depending what Figueiredo looks like, if he comes out there and he's the most motivated guy on the planet and he's screaming on the scale and you can just tell he's ready, then maybe I flip my pick, But if it's more of the same and he just looks like he's exhausted and he's had a long, hard career and he achieved what he wanted to, and for whatever reason he was good, and now he's just accepted, I lost, no big deal, then it's obviously it'll go the other way. So I'm very much looking forward. But both those first 2 fights were fantastic. The second one was not the dog fight that the first one was, but it was still great. So I'm looking forward to this. There's a ton of betting potential, whether it's the round line, inside the distance, decision, no action. There's a ton of betting potential here. Let's wait till the props drop. But in the meantime, go to wewantpicks.com/bets, make a deposit, let me know, and I'll send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, literally $50 cash, however you want it. I will send it to you as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. Before you go, don't forget to join our free Discord. It costs $0. We're not hiding any content behind a paywall. Join the Discord. Have the conversations, have the arguments, do all the things that people do on the Discord. The link is in the description below. And don't forget, if you want your free $50, go to wewantpicks.com/bets, make a deposit, let me know, and I'll send you that free $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. We'll see you guys soon.